All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Drew Embury, and welcome to our Knowledge-y Education Series event, Intermediate Excel Formula Creation. We found there's a lot happening in the technology industry, and it can be overwhelming to business people. So we hope these sessions can bring some clarity to some of the different technology buzzwords that are being used in the industry today. My name is Drew Embury, and I'm a partner here at P&L Technology. My role is to set the technical direction for our company and clients and help you get the most out of your technology investment. I'm really excited for this topic today, and we have very strong attendance numbers. I think we had over 70 people register, which is awesome. I think that really speaks to the popularity and relevance of this topic. I also really love events where we demonstrate popular technologies like Microsoft Excel, as clients always tell me they get a lot of value out of these types of presentations. So here's an overview of how this will work. This is a listen-only event, and it will be recorded. We know everyone is busy, and we will commit to a 30-minute maximum time for this event. We'll divide the 30 minutes up into about 20 minutes for presentation and about 10 minutes for question and answers at the end. If you have any questions, please use the chat function to send them in, and we will save some time at the end to address as many as we can. Following the session, we'll introduce our next topic that we hope you'll be interested in learning more about and registering for. At the end of this event, you'll be receiving an email that will contain a short survey that we hope you'll take the time to fill out, as it will assist us in making these future sessions more informative. So we hope you'll find this session valuable and helpful to your business. So we've been running these webinars for many years, and we've typically have stayed on basic topics to appeal to the widest audience possible. However, many of our clients have power users, or those that thirst for something more, and we're going to give you a kind of a taste of that today. So what are we going to cover? Well, in the short amount of time, I'm going to focus on 3 of my favorite features of Microsoft Excel that I have personally found very useful over and over in my professional career. And I found that many others either aren't aware of or maybe aren't trained on how to use some of those features. So today we're going to show you how to use a feature called Index Match, which can join together disparate sources of data to present integrated reporting. We're going to show you how to use a feature called SumIF to quickly summarize data. And we're going to show you how to create named ranges in your spreadsheet to make it so much easier to perform what-if calculations, especially on complex spreadsheets. And at the end of the day, we'll not only be recording this webinar, but we'll also be sending out a package that has some detailed instructions and the sample file that we're going to work on today, so you can refresh your memory on what we presented today and hopefully put it into practice in your business. All right, so let's go ahead and get right to it. We're going to go ahead and switch to the demonstration section of the presentation. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop now. You should be seeing my desktop, and you should be seeing an example Excel file now. You may want to switch your ReadyTalk window to full screen. Okay, so the first feature we wanted to talk to you, as I mentioned about earlier, is the feature called Index Match. So why do we need to use Index Match? Well, we often have multiple systems in the workplace that have data in them. So for example, we might have a CRM system or a job costing system that has information about our clients and work that we've done for them. And we also probably have an accounting system that contains the accounting data. Some businesses may have 3 or 4 other systems that all contain data. So have you ever tried to develop reports that combine data from all those various systems? And if you did, how did you do that? And I'll bet if I asked for a show of hands and asked how many of you did that manually, I'll bet I'd get almost all of you to raise your hand for at least a few of those occurrences. So let's take a look at a simple scenario and how we might automate that using Index Match. So I've got a sample Excel workbook here with 2 worksheets. So you see here I've got a tab called Accounting System, and I've got a list of my client names in there, and then I've got total revenue and total cost that I've billed those clients. So total cost, maybe total cost of the products the client purchased, and then total revenue, the total amount that we sold those to those clients for. And in another system, say CRM system, I'm going to go ahead and switch this tab down here where I've exported from my CRM system a similar report. And again, I've got client names, and then I've got who the sales rep and who the service rep were on there. So I set up a really simple example file, but this could be, obviously anything to do with those clients, and it could be much more complex files. So what we want to do is we want to create a report that combines data from those two separate systems that we can review every month. So in this case, we do have a field in common, be the client name, but of course the field in common could be anything, a client number or any other thing that you have in common between your systems. So now we could report on this data by leaving it in the separate tabs, but for the purposes of this illustration, I'm going to go ahead and create a new tab. So I'm going to create a new tab, and I'll just name it here, My Report. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and copy my data from my Accounting System tab into my new tab. All right. And I'm going to do the same thing for my CRM system. So I'll go ahead and copy this data in. As well. All right, so what we're going to notice immediately about this is you see that nothing is lined up here. They're in all different order because of the way we exported those from the different systems. We also notice that we have more entries down here than we do up here, which could potentially be a common thing that you'll run into. So I couldn't just necessarily sort these by alphabetical order because they may have different entries in there, and I'd have to spend a lot of time, especially if you have a large number of entries, going through and trying to delete those up and put all of the data on the same row for reporting. So that's exactly the kind of thing we want to avoid with this index match. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to match these two up. So I'm going to go ahead and start a formula over here, and I'm going to use index match. So to use index match, the first thing we want to do is build an index. So what an index is a list of all the fields that we may want to refer to later. So I'm going to go ahead and use the index feature, and then I'm going to build what's called an array. So I'm going to use columns A, B, and C, which is the data from my accounting system in that array. So what I'm going to do is use what we call an absolute reference. So an absolute reference is one that isn't going to change when we use the same formula on different rows. And we'll kind of show you later what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and index from A2. So you see there, that's the start of my information here from the accounting system. I'm going to go all the way down here to C34. So what you can see there is I've built an index, or I've basically pulled that data into an area which then we can use to query then in the future. So the next thing we want to do is set up a match. So what are we going to match on? So I'm just going to go ahead and use a comma there, and I'm going to use the match feature. So with match now, I want to pull out which field I want to match. So for example, here in column D, or actually it's column E, I'm going to tell it to match E2, which is the name of my client, and I'm going to give it basically the row that I want to match to, which would be column A. So I want to match road paving with road paving over here in column A. So we're going to give it the entire column. Then we're going to set what's called the match type. There you see by hitting comma, it prompts me for what I want. I'm going to go ahead and use 0, which is an exact match. And then I'm going to essentially just tell it which column do I want to pull out. So I've got column 1 and column 2. I'm going to go ahead and select column 2. Now if we've done that properly, boom, there it is. So you see for road paving, if I look down through through here. And let's see, where is it? So this is exactly why we use index match. There it is, road paving, 653287. It's automatically pulled that over there into my report. So now I can easily take this and drag this down all the way to the bottom. And it's matched and found those columns from all my various areas. It's pretty neat. All right, so one of the things we notice here at the very bottom is these NAs. So for the tchotchkes company, for example, if we look through here, there was no tchotchkes here, so it's basically telling us, hey, I can't find a match. There's nothing else really in there. So another really interesting thing that you can use when you're trying to write these formulas, if you come up here into the formula editor and just click, you can see how it's building there. So you can see in the blue that it's built this array, and it can show you which fields are in the array, which are the blue. And then you can see in the red it's matching E2 through the purple, which is in the purple column here. So it really helps you kind of see what's going on and making sure that you've set the columns up the way you really need them to. All right, so we've got our index match going. One of the things we noticed is this is not in the accounting format, so this is not in the format. One of the things I wanted to show you is a really quick keyboard shortcut that also a lot of people I found don't know about. By clicking on the column there, by just hitting Control $ on our keyboard, which would be actually Control-Shift-4, I can quickly format that for dollars, which is really great. So we'll go ahead also here and add a total revenue column just to make it real clear what we're doing. So now that we've pulled total revenue into our new report here and matched that up with road paving, let's go ahead and also bring in total cost. So for total cost, what I'm going to do to make it real simple is I'm just going to grab my formula here that I used before, and I'm going to paste my formula here. And if you remember, we pulled out column 2 of that original array that's in the blue here. So 1, 2. For total cost, I want column 3. So I'm just simply going to change that 2 to a 3. And then now you see there for road paving, let's find it again, the $1,700. It's automatically brought that in to the system as well. So we'll drag that down all the way to the bottom. And we'll use our nice Control-Shift-4 again, and we'll format that. And now we have a nice total cost brought in. All right, so that's a very simple way to use index match. I've found dozens of times where I've used this to be able to quickly join data from different systems to present reports that would have really taken me hours of very frustrating work if I wasn't able to use this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to transition into using the next function we wanted to show you today, and that's a function called SumIF. So again, we could do that on a separate tab, but I'm going to work off the same spreadsheet today for simplicity. So let's say I now want to build a report that shows me information by rep. So we've got our different reps here, our sales reps and our service reps, and we want to build a report that shows how those reps are doing that we can review every month. So let's do that now. So over here, I'll go ahead and kind of mock out what I'm trying to do. I'll put my sales rep, and I'll do my total revenue again, and I'll do my total cost. All right, so we'll bold that so it looks nice. And my sales rep, my first rep is Bart, so I'll just go ahead and type Bart's name in there. And now we're going to use this SumIF function. So we're going to go ahead and do the equals SumIF. And it's going to ask us what we're going to match on to begin with. So you see in column F here, we've got our sales rep. So we're going to go ahead and show it the range. So we're going to go ahead and use our absolute references again. I'll just go all the way down to 100. That'll give me more than I need, but that will work just fine. So we're going to match on column F that we've set the range up Now we're going to tell it which one we want to match with. So we could just type the word BART in here, but since I've already got the word BART here in number M2, I'm just going to use M2. So there you see we're going to match against BART. And then what do we want it to sum? Well, we want to sum total revenue here in column I. So we'll go ahead and tell it we want to sum I2 through I, again, we'll just use 100 to make it real simple. And there you see we've, for BART, again, we'll format that as dollars. That's automatically added up all of BART's sales, so I can look at it in a very, very easy way. All right, so we've got some other sales. So we've got Alex, we've got Bernard, and we've got Tim. So we can just drag this down. We'll start with Alex. Okay, so you see we've got an NA there. So something's going on with that formula. So one of the things I always like to do when I'm building these is if I click on it and you see the little caution sign comes up and it has a drop down. So what we could do is trace error there. And the trace error will tell you exactly what it's doing. So it was doing the SumIF, and as soon as it got to that NA column, it wasn't able to proceed. So we have two options here. One is we could write a little logic in our formula to ignore those, or for real simplicity's sake, and let's do that now. Let's just zero those out. So now we go up to Alex, and you see it's brought in the total revenue for Alex. And by drawing that down to Bernard and Tim, now we've got a great view of who's doing what revenue-wise. So let's do the same thing on the cost side. So again, let's go ahead and grab our formula here. And we'll go to cost, and we'll paste that in. Now for cost, we still want to match BART with BART here, but we don't want column I, we want column J because that's where our costs are. So we'll go ahead and change that I to a J. And there we have our costs. We'll pull those down. And again, we will set that to our dollars using our little Control-Shift-4 trick. And we've got our cost there now. So that's great. Let's maybe do another calculation. How about gross margin? Always a very important thing to watch in business. So for gross margin, we'll do our revenue. So we'll do N2. Whoops, we'll need this. Revenue minus cost divided by revenue. Whoops. Divided by revenue, N2. There we go. And you see we have our gross margin there now, but it's formatted in dollars, which really wouldn't be correct. So again, using our fancy keyboard shortcut, we can do Control-Shift%, and now we have our gross margin. So this is where it begins to become really interesting in business when you build these kinds of spreadsheets. We can instantly see here that Bart and Tim are doing about the same thing, so great job. Alex might need a little coaching, and Bernard, we might need to show him the door. Something's going on there. He's not only not making us money, he's costing us money. So that's how you can use SumIF. It's a really great way to combine with index match and really summarize data and present it very, very, very quickly. So now that we've showed how to use SumIF, let's kind of move on to using named ranges. So named ranges are really useful too, especially for complex spreadsheets, and they let you build formulas by name instead of having to type over and over a range. So let's go ahead and show you how to use named ranges right now. So we'll go ahead and focus here on this little report we just built for gross margin, and maybe we want also a total of our total revenue. So what I'm going to do here is just select the range where my total revenue sits, and then over here where it says N2, I'm going to give that a name. So I'm just going to call that revenue. And so you see I've typed revenue there. I'm going to hit enter. And what I've done is named that range revenue. Let's do the same thing for cost. I'll highlight those 4 cells. I will type cost there in my box over here to the right. And now I've named that. So here's the cool thing of how that works. So maybe now we want to build a total down here. So we'll build a total. And now instead of having to try to sum up, I can just use formulas on that named range. So I can do sum. and then start typing revenue. Now, if I start typing revenue, you'll see in the autocomplete here, there's this little tag, and that is the tag for a named range. And you can see there the revenue tag I just created. So we can use revenue, and there it's automatically summed those up for us. So now if you look at that, you see how much easier that is to read than if it had a range in there. Again, especially the more complex your spreadsheets get. So let's do the same thing for cost. So I could do sum cost. Yep, there it is. And it summed my cost. You can also then name calculations that were done on named ranges. So here we have our revenue again, which you can see is sum of the revenue. I'm going to give that a name. So again, I'm going to come over here to my name box, and I'm going to just do total revenue. And I would always use the underscore instead of a space. I think it just makes it easier, and I'm not certain you can have spaces in named ranges. So I've named that total revenue. I'll do the same thing for my costs. Again, I'll click the one I want to name. I'll click into the box here, total cost. And now we could then potentially run a gross margin calculation to show you how this all pulls together. So then I could do revenue using my names. So total revenue minus total cost divided by total revenue. And I'll need to put some parentheses around here just to make sure my order of operations is correct. So now we've got a blended gross margin for the whole team of 80%. And if you look in there, you can see how elegant this is to read. So how much easier that would be if you're trying to debug that or maybe run what-if calculations. All right, so that kind of comes to the end of the three things we wanted to show you. We showed you the SumIF, we showed you the index match, and we showed you the name ranges. Just three little things you can put in your toolbox to be a little bit more effective. So at this point, we'd like to take any questions that have come in. And looks like we do have a few that have come in. And the first one that came in is, let's see here, do named ranges work across tabs on big workbooks? And yes, they do, and that's one of the really cool things about them. So a lot of us have workbooks with a lot of different worksheets in them. So I'll go ahead and create a new worksheet just to demonstrate this here by clicking the plus. And now you see I've got a blank sheet. And if I hit my equal here and start using my labels, so there you see my total revenue minus total cost, and I can refer back to that. I can reference that on information that exists then on a previous worksheet. If anything gets updated or changed here, then it'll get updated and changed here because I'm using those named ranges. So a lot easier than trying to refer back to items on your sheet, because you have to use a pretty complicated and very cumbersome way to refer to previous tabs if you haven't named them. Okay, the next question is, could you explain again why you had to use the $ when creating the ranges? Sure, absolutely. So I think probably the best way to do that would maybe just to demonstrate. So let's see here. I'm going back. Here's one of the places where we did that. So I'm going to go ahead and click up here in my formula box so we can see how it's working. So you can see there it's, again, built our index based on this, and it's matching the red with the column of the purple. So let's see what happens if we wouldn't have used absolute references here. So we'll take the $ out. So you see for the first one it didn't really change anything. But let's go ahead and drag that down. You see how we get a bunch of NAs and we have stuff matching incorrectly? Well, if we click into one of these and click here, so you'll notice that our proper formula was A2 to A34 because we wanted to build the array on this block of data here. But you know Excel has incremented that, so A3, A35, A4, A36. So if we click down here a little bit, see how it's building that array incorrectly because we didn't use those absolute cell references using the dollar signs. That's what happens. So anytime you want a cell referred to as the exact same cell, even if you're going to drag that formula down to multiple columns, then you're definitely going to want to use the dollar signs and create an absolute reference. Okay, it looks like that's the end of the presentation and the end of the questions. So we've got a couple more things for you to show quickly here. So our next event is Skype for Business, how Microsoft and P&L technology are changing the way you communicate. This is really cool. This is a way to integrate your phone system with your computer so you can see who's calling on your computer. You can click and dial your phone from like your CRM applications. You can take calls on your cell phone that ring your business line when you're out of the office. You could put an extension from your office at your home. It's a way to do much more integrated communications and really potentially even completely eliminate the phone on your desk if you want to. So we think a lot of business people are really going to want to tune into this. So it's December 8th, 2016 at 10 a.m. And to register, just go to www.pltechnology.com/events. The last thing we have for you is, we want to make sure you all register for our Knowledge Users Conference. So this is a full-day conference that we're having November 15th, 2016. And if you like just a little taste of what you got today with the Advanced Excel, we're having several advanced sessions that you can sign up for at the Users Conference this year. So that was a difference from previous years when we had more basic sessions. We do have some advanced sessions that are 3 hours plus, where we can really dig into technologies like Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel and give you some takeaways like hopefully you took away today. So to register for that, pltechnology.com/conference, and our early bird pricing is ending very soon. So if you want to take advantage of the early bird, please do that today. If not, you can always attend at the full price, which is even at full price is only $99 for the basic session. So that's it. We hope you really enjoyed this session. We look forward to joining future events. Thank you.